everybody. I'm Charlie. Welcome back to On Air, my Beatles collection. Today, we found out another opportunity to expand our Beatles collection. Uh, and I wanted to wait till later in the day to really talk about it. I wanted to think about it. I found out very early this morning, and I was kind of groggy when I read it, and I'm thinking, boy, this isn't what we were hoping for. We had been getting hints in the last, week or so about Back to the Egg and about London Town, which of course are the two main Wings albums that we are still hoping to get a super deluxe box set of. So, I'm thinking, do we really need this Wings compilation? We have Wingspan, we have Wings Greatest Hits, and most of us that are, certainly those of us that are collectors, if we collect Beatles, and if we collect Paul McCartney, there's nothing on this that we don't already have. There's no outtakes, there's no, songs that were never released that are suddenly found and released. It's just all mainstream stuff that we've all got already. It's nice to have it in one place. You can argue for that, but so anyway, I wanted to take the day to really kind of think about, what do I think about this, and then solicit your points of view about what you think about it. I do think that the McCartney camp is aware of his age. I think they're aware of the fact that there are a lot of people that did not grow up in the Wings era or the Beatles era. They've grown up since then, but they may have come to like the Beatles or the solo Beatles, but they might not be totally familiar with Paul's catalog. They may not be totally familiar with many of these songs that were hits or that had significant radio airplay. And I saw a couple of posts online where people said essentially that they were younger and they focused on they're playing catch up, so to speak, musically. So they focused on the Beatles, and now they're like, now I'm ready to take a look at some of the solo stuff, and Wings in particular. I know they were a successful band, so I'm going to take a look at that now. So I get that. So I guess there's an audience. Actually, I think there's three potential audiences. One is younger people that kind of have touched the sound of Wings kind of historically, and I'm thinking maybe I need to find it all in one place to really get a good taste. And the comparison to that might be the Beatles One album. There's nothing on the One album that any Beatles collector didn't already have. Yet it is their biggest selling album of all time, because all the hits are in one place. And a lot of their albums didn't have hits on them. They were albums. Sgt. Pepper didn't have a hit. It was a hit itself. The whole album was a hit. There wasn't a song on there that was a top 40 hit that you could buy a single and just buy the single until later on. And, they started they released a song, Sgt. Pepper, with A Day in the Life on the other side, like 10 years later. So, as there was a market with younger people for the Beatles One album, maybe there's a market for the Wings compilation set. So, the thing that interested me the most, and the more I've thought about it throughout the day, is the Blu-ray. First of all, the Blu-ray is cheap. It's not a cash grab, which is the words that we're going to hear over and over here, probably in the comments after I post this video. The Blu-ray is the first time that we're getting any of these songs really on a Dolby Atmos or 5.1 surround on an audio only Blu-ray. It's in the high 20s, $28, I think, $27.98, something like that. You got to pay for delivery, whatever. So, maybe it's $35 delivered. But, I'm in on the Blu-ray for sure. Absolutely. I have a nice surround system in my house. I have a nice Polk surround system. You're looking at one of the rear speakers there. There's another one on the other side. There's a sub in front of me. There's a center channel speaker across from me. It sounds great in this room, and I'm anxious to hear the Blu-ray for the Wing stuff. Everything else, I don't need a T-shirt. They probably don't have my size anyway. So, I bought box sets in the past that came with a T-shirt. Nobody even takes the shirts out of the box generally. In fact, we don't even, collectors won't even open the box. They stay sealed for all eternity. And our kids will sell them for 25 cents in a garage sale when we're gone. But anyway, there's a lot of stuff in this collection release. There's a black vinyl 3 LP set. There's a color vinyl 3 LP set, 3 different colors. There's a super duper one that comes with a T-shirt, up to 2X, I believe. I think there's some stickers in there, some other stuff. And then you can buy some of that stuff separately too. You can buy the stickers, you can buy the T-shirt, you can buy some of this stuff, it's just standalone. If all you want out of all this is a T-shirt, now there it is, it's there for you. I'll probably skip the T-shirt, I'll skip the stickers. I don't know, there's something else that has to do with watercolors. I didn't dig in too deep because honestly, I don't care. I mean, I'm not one of these guys that says, oh, cash grab, because the cash is in your hands until you let somebody grab it from you. So, if you're just not into it, then put your money back in your pocket and don't worry about it. I'm a bit of a vinyl junkie, and I am definitely a color vinyl junkie, and I'm almost always in on the color vinyl stuff. Maybe not if there's 30 colors, but in this case, there's a 3 LP set, with 3 color vinyls. I'm sure it looks good. I'm sure it sounds good. And along with the Blu-ray, I'm in. I'm not going to spend, a ton of money to get all the different variations. I don't need the single CD. I don't need the single vinyl or the double vinyl or any of the other variations that there are. I get the color vinyl, which is only in the 3 LP set. And it's a little bit more than the black vinyl set, but it doesn't have the T-shirt and the other stuff. So, that's another $10 or $20 on top of it. So I don't know what are your thoughts about it? I certainly wish that with all the recent teasing we got about the Wings catalog, in particular with some focus on London Town and Back to the Egg, I think we were all hoping that the Christmas surprise this year was that we were going to get those super deluxe boxes, in our Christmas stocking, and we're not. And that's unfortunate. The older generation fans, that's what they're waiting for. They don't need to have, 5 copies of Band on the Run as a song, which they probably already have in 5 different places. So, that I think I said I think there's 3 audiences before. I think one of them is the old guard like myself who were there at the beginning, who were there before the beginning, back in the early Beatle days. And, there's nothing new here for us. Now, a subgroup of us is the collectors that just have to have everything. And, I'm almost there. I mean, I'm somewhat of a completist, but I don't have to have everything on the menu, and this release is a little bit of a Chinese menu. There's a lot of choices, and I don't need a T-shirt, and I'm not going to pay, an extra $20 just to get a T-shirt. And as a collector, I don't think it's ever going to increase in value significantly. It's too late in the game to have this level of a release at this kind of volume level, where we're going to create any rarity. And the people that do buy it, that are completists, are going to leave stuff sealed and not even open it. So it's not like 10 years from now, you're going to have a hard time finding the Wings compilation in near mint condition. I'm certain you will be able to. And you probably won't have to pay much more for it than you were paying today on a pre-order. So, you got the old guard, and then you get the subset of the old guard, which is the collectors. And then you got newer fans that are also bona fide collectors. And then you got just new fans, period. And I happen to think that that's the target audience here. I think Paul wants younger people that listen to rock music, that listen to pop music, that kind of vaguely know this stuff from just hearing it in the room or hearing it in the CBS or wherever they hear it, and trying to get them into it, in a significant way where they'll invest in something similar to the way a group 20 years ago invested in Beatles One, and it is 20 years now, by the way. It's more than 20 years. Seems like these albums seem new when we talk about them, but it's been around a long time. So I don't know. What are your thoughts about it? I'm not going to call it a cash grab because I hate those words, because nobody grabs my money unless I'm willing to give it to them. And a lot of times I am tempted to buy things that I don't need, that I already have in some other configuration. And as a collector and somewhat of a completist, I feel the need to, I better open my wallet. Now this season, we have so many of these. We've got the Lennon box coming on October 12th. I'm going to look at my calendar because I have a lot of stuff on the calendar that you probably, you probably already know, but I just want to check the dates to make sure. So Ringo, this Friday, Ringo has a couple of color vinyl releases. Ringo Rama is supposed to be released this coming Friday on 2 different color vinyls. I don't know if that's on schedule or not. And then on October 10th, of course, we get the Lennon box. But on October 10th, we also get the Abbey Road green vinyl, Target exclusive in the US, HMV exclusive in Europe. So that's October 10th. So far, just between today and October 10th, you potentially have a greater than $500 cost to be a Beatles completist, if you will. And then a couple of weeks later in October, we have, let's see, where's the date? On October 24th, if you're a Beatles completist out one more generation and you're interested in what Julian Lennon is doing, he's got an EP coming on July 24th. And that'll be available also with his autograph on it if you're interested. I was in on that. I like Julian. I like his voice. And, it's an EP. It wasn't terribly expensive. And I did ask for the autograph version, if you will, on a pre-order. And then we go, then we go into November. And on November 4th, we get the Wings book, which has been, we've known about for quite some time now. And only 3 days later, we get the Wings compilation. So now we're probably up to, if we bought everything I just mentioned, we're probably up to $750, right? And then a week later, on November 14th, we get Ringo's Stop and Smell the Roses liquid vinyl. That is a 12-inch vinyl record with liquid inside. That's $100. So what are we up to now? $850, right? And then, let's see, when does it happen? On November 21st, we get the anthology. And depending upon if you bought it and what variation you bought, if you bought the box set, you already know the damage report on that. So we're up over 1,000. Definitely up over 1,000. And so where do we go with this? It's going to be a Beatles expensive Christmas if you're a completist and if you want all of it. And if you buy the entire Wings compilation menu, you're going to spend quite a bit. You can get the triple vinyl, color vinyl for $115. You can get the Blu-ray for less than $30. But if you start adding up all the stuff with the T-shirts and all the other stuff, you can easily get up over $200 on the McCartney thing alone. You add the book, you're up, another $50 or whatever the book cost. And if you get the Ringo stuff, you get the Beatles stuff, it has, and we haven't heard anything from the George Harrison camp. and it's hard to believe that they're going to let Christmas go by. They probably can't find a date to squeeze into. If you look at, every Friday between, this Friday and November 21st, there's something going on almost every Friday. Between Ringo's color vinyl stuff and then the Paul thing on October 7th, and then the Lennon box coming, not on October 7th. What was the date? October Lennon. Let's see. What date was that? Did I say? Oh, it's November 7th. Sorry. Yeah. So you got the Lennon Power to the People box in October. Then you got the Julian Lennon a couple of weeks later. Then you got the McCartney a couple of weeks later. Then you got the Ringo Liquid thing a week after that. And then you got the Beatles anthology a week after that, or 2 weeks after that. So between now and November 21st, it's going to be an expensive ride for Beatles collectors and Beatles fans if you buy into all this stuff. And as I said, we haven't heard anything from the George Harrison camp. I'm not sure what's next there. If they follow the previous release path, I think we'd be looking at Extra Texture maybe as the next title in the Harrison discography. I don't know if there's enough material for a super deluxe box. And then, right after the first of the year, we're probably going to start hearing more about Paul's new album. We're going to get the Man on the Run video. So we're going to get more Paul stuff in, probably the first quarter anyway. If we don't get a Harrison between now and then, we might get a Harrison then after the Christmas rush, which I'm not sure if that makes sense commercially, but given the fact that there's so much competition out there for Beatles dollars, maybe they will wait. And then we haven't even talked about Record Store Day. I haven't seen any discussions about the Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving Record Store Day. In the past couple of years, there were 2 Record Store Days. There was one in April and one in November each year. We haven't heard anything about if there's even a Record Store Day on Black Friday this year, and if there is there any Beatles related product? We got the Lennon EP teaser for Power to the People back in April, and we got another version of the 3-inch records from the prior year. We got that in April as well. So who knows if there's going to be product? I mentioned also in there that the Abbey Road green vinyl is going to be in there as well. So it's just going to be a lot of stuff coming to the mailbox if you buy into all this stuff, and there's going to be a lot of green bills leaving your wallet. So hang on, buy discriminately. If you don't need it, don't buy it. If you just have to have it, get your pre-order in, and hope everything goes well. And I hope you make your mortgage payment in the next few months. So anyway, let me have your thoughts about all this. I'm curious. I know a lot of people will just go straight to the cash grab thing, but I'm just I'm not buying that argument just simply because nobody's forcing you to buy anything. So it is rehashing things that already exist when you change the color of the vinyl, or you put a bunch of songs from different albums on one album and you call it a compilation. Yeah, you don't need it. If you already have it and you already listen to that stuff, you don't need it. You either want it or you don't want it, but you don't need it. So we'll see where that goes. The Blu-ray, I need it. I need the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is going to be exceptional in terms of how it sounds, I think. In this room, Blu-rays in surround sound phenomenal in this room. And give me more. I wish all the super deluxe boxes, the McCartney boxes never have the Blu-ray in them. I wish they did. To me, that's particularly for an audience that's not so much a streaming audience as the younger people are all about streaming. They don't care about vinyl or tapes or anything else. But for a mid to older audience, that really wants the pristine sound and can afford the sound systems and all that stuff, Blu-ray is the way to go. So I like the packaging and I like all the other stuff. You know, it's nice to hold a 12 by 12 record in your hand and read the liner notes and get the posters and all that. But when it comes down to the music, you can't top the Blu-rays. Not with today's technology anyway. Now, of course, all of this stuff will be streaming. And any of you that have a subscription to, Apple Music or Amazon Music or Spotify or whatever, you're going to get all this stuff. And if you're already a subscriber, you're going to get it for free. There's a lot of ways to listen to this stuff. But I don't think anybody's going to be rushing to the Wings compilation playlist because they have to hear this album streaming, because they already have access to all these songs. They're already on there. Every one of these albums is still in print. It's still available, in streaming. So, that's the dilemma, I think, with the younger audience. If the intent is to try to capture the younger audience with some cool new product that rehashes old music from 50 years ago, I'm not sure that a physical copy is the way to do that. 20 years ago when the one album came out, it definitely was cool, but there were also CDs and probably cassettes. I don't even remember if there were cassettes, probably cassettes as well. And there was vinyl, and some people bought the vinyl and some people bought the CDs and some people bought both. Now people are less inclined to buy physical product unless they think it's going to have collector value or something. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays. Again, I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. In any case, I wanted to get a video out today while it's still breaking news. I'd love for you to come back to the channel and see the stuff that I normally post here. So if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Definitely please comment, because I'm really very interested in your thoughts as a community. And I'll also ask you to go over to my Facebook page to see what's going on over there. I did post all this on the Facebook page earlier today, and I'll post this video as well. I'll post a link to this video over there as well. If you're not familiar with that, it's also called My Beatles Collection, not on air My Beatles Collection, just My Beatles Collection. We have well over 5,000 subscribers there, members, if you will. It's a private group. You have to answer a few questions. You have to agree not to sell things. But other than that, be happy to have you join over there. And there's lots of communication over on that side too about this. So, and I've posted pictures of all the different variations of this new compilation, the T-shirts and all, and individual pictures of each set. And I didn't bother to put the pricing up there. People can do their own research, and sometimes you can get stuff different places for different prices. So that stuff is all over there. And also, I post individual parts of my collection there almost every day. And many of the members post stuff almost every day. So you see all kinds of interesting stuff over there. I think in any given day or week, more than once you're going to say, wow, I didn't even know that existed. So to me, that's a great thing for collectors to discover, stuff that's out there that gets your attention or you think is cool or whatever. And maybe you never saw it before. So anyway, that's it for this video. Take care. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you again.